Hey guys, what is going on? So, for starters, welcome back to the Code Chronicles. It is your lovely host, the one and only Pags. So we're a little bit quieter today. It's 4:38 in the morning. I woke up a little bit earlier today. I was exhausted yesterday. I think I went to bed at like 8:30 or something, like something ridiculously early, and I slept really good. Hold on, let me get a little water here. But the videos lately, I've been having the lights overhead and these lights in the background. It looks really great for lighting, but right now we're not doing that. We're a little bit more quiet. But I am smiling right now because I am so stoked. I spent a little time just diving into Prisma and getting it integrated into the project, and I think it's gonna work. So leapfrogging off of yesterday, we kind of let me make sure we're up and running. We had a few things that have happened. We built that task thing where we could see the task. The reason why we're not seeing the task is because I changed my database to, I kept the old database that we were using with Mongo, but I just made a new database, named it Taskify. So we still have all those previous tasks, and we can always swap it back if we ever need to. But I was running into some issues when building out Prisma, and ultimately I needed to flush the data, but I wasn't going to flush the data because we have all those tasks that we spent a little bit of time building, and ultimately I did need to do it though to make Prisma work, and I got it figured out where maybe I'll have a little bit of a Prisma tutorial, but there are a few out there. When I'm much more competent at it, I will gladly make a tutorial around it. But the point is, we got it integrated in the project where we're installed Prisma client, and you build a model. The schema is already generated for you, at least this part, and you just tell it what database you want to go with, whether it's a MySQL, Postgres, a CockroachDB, and then you obviously go to your environment, link up your variables, and boom, and you start building out the schemas that you need. So we're going to have to end up rebuilding our schemas here. But the great news is, I think this will get rid of this file and this file. So we won't need those anymore. We can roughly deprecate them because our models are being built here and our database connections handling here. So that's these two folders right there that we would no longer need. And so far, I just built a rough little endpoint just to make sure that we were working. Let me go ahead and fire up the server again. And what it is, I'll pull up Lucidchart to kind of explain a little bit about Prisma, because with MongoDB specifically, we were going to run into some issues here hold on, let me see. So we needed all these relationships we do with our data at some point. So let me erase some of this real quick, just so we can kind of start from ground zero, right? Okay, come on. Okay, so we started with tasks, and this is our build right now. Is this, right? We got our task linked up. Well, maybe it's a little bit different now, but this is what we had, where we had our task querying to the endpoint of, hey, we need our task. Here's our model for the task. Things we didn't consider or that we were roughly going to start integrating were going to be these, right? We needed our users, and our users have tasks. So these needed to be connected. If you saw the previous stuff, but the thing is, if you saw the previous stuff, you would recognize the structure of this a little bit. Very, very basic structure, but for me, this is maybe not my forte. But with MongoDB, it's tough to make this relationship happen, I suppose, where we have to kind of make documents that would then, this would be like tasks, and we'd have users, and this would make users and tasks. Is roughly what I understand what we would have had to do if we didn't use some sort of ORM or some sort of mapper with MongoDB, because it's a non-relational document store database, which is not the same as like a MySQL, a Postgres, where you can draw connections between your data. So you could still draw connections, but we would have to kind of force them together like this, because I don't think we can go directly to this. But what we can do is query another query from the database or the users. But you can see rapidly how this could get complicated if, let's say, we need task users and projects, right? And then we also have to pull unique data from this. And let's say manage it or maintain it. You know what I mean? It's just going to be a pain, right? So, and this is also if we needed to do more things in the future, right? So if there's not only users, but projects contained task and users to make up teams, right? So teams would make up basically, well, I guess this would technically be the teams. But the point is it's always one extra abstraction when you have to combine data, I think, when we don't use Prisma. So fortunately, we don't have to do that anymore. Now we can actually treat it how we want to, which is going to be just saying, okay, we're going to have users, and then we can just build users related to task. And that is, if we look at our schema, that's what this original relationship is going to be right here. This user relation, at relation, boom, 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 references this ID. So right now we just have post. It's just a model schema that Prisma handles, but basically we would just have task right here and user, boom, boom. And instead of that, we'll say task. Oh, and we will have to npx run generate to reconfigure our Prisma schema. Okay, should be up to date. Oh, meant to run start. Here we go. Run start. And crashed. Okay, prisma.post.find. Okay, and we don't have that anymore, so it needs to be task. Here we go. So now if we check our Prisma thing, and let's roughly build out our schema for task here. So we had an ID. What did we have? We had task. We can look at our model that we previously had. Even our type is completely fine. Task priority. Priority. I wonder if you can import types here. Type. I guess it's not JavaScript. Okay, so maybe I can look that up. Custom types in Prisma schema. Custom models. Okay, so import. No, we just want the model, not. These are all controller stuff on the TypeScript file on Node, but we don't want that. We want to have the actual model be specific, but we can configure that in a bit. I do want to get the functionality ultimately working. So let's say type task priority, and we can have task category, string. And we have task status. Ooh, this is gonna be tricky. Let's not tackle that right now. And this won't be post. This will be task, and we'll have tasks for user. So this is the relationship we didn't have before. And now we can configure it really, really easy with 2 lines of code in Prisma. And if we go ahead and run generate, npx run Prisma generate to update our schema. see if we're working. And the other thing we need to do is, oh, and there's going to be a user error because we don't have user. Task name, new task, and there's going to be a few errors here. Because also in our controller, we need to change everything over from Mongo to Prisma, which I don't think it'll be too hard. I really don't. So Kanban. And I think that'll do it. Okay, let's see if it posts. Boom, it does. Okay, task name, boom, boom, boom. Let's pull up our MongoDB. We may need to flush this. Let's refresh. Task is here, and let's drop this post collection. We don't need it anymore. Okay, task. Okay, new task low. Nice. So it's working. So it's a wrapper around our MongoDB, and it's connected to this user. So now we can see that this task can be assigned to somebody, right? So, and obviously we'll change the names to tasks to that user or something. And what else can I do? Let's get out of the model here. Let's go back to the server file. So this is just doing the function main, I guess like posting task is what this will be, post task. This is roughly the endpoint we'll end up doing, and then we'll obviously pull in all of our like const task name from the rec.body, all that stuff. We'll swap it over to the controller here in a sec, assuming we're roughly working. But I want to, before doing that, I want to, what do we want to do? See if we can get the functionality working so we can query a user. And let's see, so async function get user. And we'll say const user equals await Prisma user. I don't want to create, I want to find a user with this ID in our database. This one right here. Find user. Find. Is it just find? Find first. Find by ID, is that a thing? Find unique. Right? Okay, maybe we do want to create. No, we don't. We don't want to create a user. So let's see, Prisma, MongoDB, find by ID. Query. Oh, it's going to be query. That's what it is. Right? Isn't it query? Thought it was. Felt good about that, guys. Felt students find. Okay. Is it just find? I don't see Prisma in this. Where is it? Prisma. Using Prisma with MongoDB. How can I find all elements that match an ID list? Basically what I'm trying to do here is find the task associated to a user, I think. So we have our post function, and then I just want to find, so let's see what they're doing. Prisma, client, await, signee, find many, where ID. Okay, so it looks like you do. It looks like it is the find many. And you say where ID equals this ID. And this would be like the rec, or we'd say const like user ID, right? We can get it from the front end whenever we query, and it would go here. I imagine is how that's going to work or how that's going to look. But we don't need to do that here. We're just going to hard code it in there. And basically I want to say user tasks. Or so we want to find the user, and then I think we want to query that user. So let's user's task, and let's see. So this should find the user in theory. Let's console log this, and then after we find the user, let me not console log the task anymore. We should be able to identify the task that it has. So name Ryan Pags, that is me. Oh, great. And it's working because we don't have task associated with the user. So we need to post a user with task now, I believe. So let's try to think about this. I'm going to drop this collection. I think when you add keys or something, it may not be keys. I think just with the ID was the problem I was having earlier, because I was like passing in an ID here, and then it was saying your other task or your other users don't have an ID associated with them. Your other tasks don't have an ID associated with them. So we can't, it said like something about a non-nullable type. So then I just opened a new database, and then it worked. And I dropped the old data in that I was building with, but then it worked. So sorry guys, I tried to sound cooler than I am. I think it's important to establish tone and cadence in sounding cool, but at the same time, me building software, like hopefully the end goal is not to sound cool, but to actually just build good software, right? Okay, so post task, and this is going to post it to task, and we need to also post task to user, I think. Post task to user, I think, is going to be one of our endpoints. Say const user. I think we need to do the same thing. Find many. What do we say? Where user, where ID. We're going to have to pull this. Async function. Okay, so post task to user, and then how can we do this? I saw task. Let's see. Await Prisma task.create. But this already does that though, I thought, right? Yeah, this already does that. That already posts the task to this user, right? And then we'll make this like not required somehow, so that we don't have to pass this in, and the task can just exist in a task pool maybe. So maybe we'll need two functions. One is going to be to create just task, and then the other will be this. And I don't know how to make stuff not required here, because it looks like all these things are required all the time. So, but we will figure it out. Okay, so the task gets posted. So it gets created. And then we want to, but it doesn't get created associated to the user, I don't believe. Okay, let me think about this for another hot second. Okay, so app listening, boom, boom, boom. What did we break? Async function calls task user. is not being used, I don't believe. So if we just console log it, boom. See if that fixes our issue. No user records related in relation. Okay, so we need to create that user then. Sounds like. Async function. Oh, we did drop that table, so that would make sense. Create user. Const user, await Prisma, user create. Not sure if we can just build out our own IDs or not, but let's see what we can do. Okay, so user name, I don't think we can. Ryan. Let's see, and task, no. Oh, and we need to wrap this in data. Okay. So I don't think we need to, let's see, I don't think we need to push everything in. It looks like we might not be able to, or might not need to do that. It might just do that automatically where we don't need to. Let's see. So it created the user. I saw it pop up. And then if we check the database, it popped up with a new folder. Here's that object we just made. And then so our user's created now. So when someone sends off clerk, they land on the home page after having a successful login with clerk. Then we will fire this function off, more than likely, some version of it. But we need a thing so we can create users, right? That's that endpoint. What is this error now? Oh, it's going to be saying it's going to try to get a user's task with an ID that doesn't exist. So let's try that. Post task, okay. Also a problem, get user task. Let's put it down there. So this will get my task associated to me, but we need to do one more thing. We need to post the task to the users. So async function post task to user, right? And this will take that user ID, which will be a string. And this would basically take this here. Let's see, so const. I wonder if you just kind of do something else. Not create, but maybe it is like an aggregate or something. Aggregate row. Update. Let's try. So update, boom. We'll have our user. Do we need to find him first though? See guys, this is where some of my you could see where I could polish up some backend stuff. Because I feel really dominant on the front end where I'm like, oh yeah, do this, boom, boom, boom. Like in my mind, some of the time, I feel like I'm 2 or 3 steps ahead where I'm just walking through the steps. I feel like I see the solution or something at times. And on the back end, I'm like, okay, what's step 1? What do we need to do? What's the last step? What's the... Not that it's a front end, back end. I keep always referring to it as that, but I really just see it as like DOM reactivity versus like database reactivity is kind of how I would almost think about it. And on the front end, like with React and Vue, you have like different reactivities on your DOM and how they work and integrate components. The same with like Angular. It's all roughly the same, but they have their own nuances. And then likewise with like a database, right? You have different nuances with different things. So let's go ahead and try to find a user ID with user ID. Let's see if this works. Console log. I feel like it's gonna work. It is nice. Okay, so find many. Oh, because we've already done that. Here, okay, and then we're gonna say const updated user. We'll say await Prisma user update, and this is where is this gonna be user found? Say this user found. Do I need to pass that in here? No. Okay, you know what? This is going to be something for the intern to show us real quick. Guess he's not the intern today. Okay, let's see. So I have these models in Prisma. Update user with tasks. And what do we want to do? I want to update the user with tasks / create task for a user. Okay, let's see. Let's see what our trusty intern says. I need to turn the brightness up a little bit. Guys, it's 5:04 in the morning. Goodness gracious. I do love the early routine though. I've been slowly getting back into it. I used to do it in college where I would be in bed at 9 and I would wake up at 4:30, like just round the clock on the dot. And I was so good at it. I would get into a thing where I'd read books in the morning, work out, do some homework, and study a little bit, and definitely write music and stuff. That was kind of the earlier days when I was writing music. And it was just perfect. Like, oh, that schedule was dialed, and I felt so good. I really did. I really did. Okay, so post task user. Oh, we need to pass in task data, of course. Okay, so the task data would just go here. But can we just say tasks? Is this what we would do? So because I don't want to put it in like what it's saying as an object. Well, actually, maybe we do. But I just wanted to see it work like this, where we say task name, test, right? Task category, priority. Priority, boom, task priority, low, and task category. Is that the last one? We need task, no. Okay. Task name, boom, boom, boom. Because shouldn't this still be? Okay, that's fine. Find user first. Okay, so you find the user. If user not found, throw an error. Don't care. Prisma will handle that. Okay, so we find the user, and then what do we do here? We say task create. Prisma, okay, and does it just pop into their profile then? So finally here we need to, I guess, put in new task. Say task name. And what else do we have? Task priority. Task priority. But point being, I have been getting back on that routine a little bit, where it's just in the morning, and I've been feeling good, like just a little bit better, and I feel so productive. It's like I feel like I will have an entire day. I'll like record all these vlogs. I'll record this thing. I'll probably work out, and I'll have like an entire day, or at least a chunk of a day done, and then I'll look up and it'll be like 9:30 in the morning, you know. Okay, so I think that might have worked. Let's see. User. No, I'm still not seeing the task here. I just see. Oh, but I guess that would make sense that they're never going to be appended to here. They're just going to be related to the user ID. Right? Does that make sense? Task created. So why do we need the user found then? So we don't need, I think what I'm thinking of is not to post to user then or get user task. It's find many where, okay, this is I think what we're trying to do is find the task associated to this user. And in my mind, I wanted to see it as, oh, wrong spot there. In my mind, I wanted to see it as a object in the database. Like when I click user, I wanted to see task. But really what we're going to do is go to the task and then find everything associated to this key, right? This user ID. So that makes sense. Okay, so we'll say where user ID. Obviously, we'll pass this in. But we don't want user, we want task where user ID. I think that's what we want. Task by user. Let's see. And let's not have console created. Let's see if we can get user task. App listening, boom, 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 get user task. There's none there. Find many. Guys, this is so cool though. I am loving that we're building this out. And we'll put it all into the controllers and stuff. I just wanted to see it work on a tiny level first, and then swapping it over to the controllers is going to be probably, I imagine, an easier thing to do. Here is task find many. Okay, so show Prisma task find many, right? But we just want to find them by the ID. So task find many where ID is this. That's it. Res.json, let's see. Boom. Still says nada. Does it change in the database? Did we rekey it to something else? Is it user? Oh, it's user ID. Duh. So I think that should fetch us all the task associated to a user, folks. I want to scream and celebrate, but it's 5 a.m. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, guys. Okay, so we've now, we've now began this relationship here, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it, folks. I'm digging it because if we can do this, in my mind, we can easily implement the projects, right, or the teams. Easily, maybe I should put a little asterisk next to it. We should be able to. Easily, maybe I won't say that, but we should be able to. Let me zoom in here. I always forget. There's a gentleman who asked if I could zoom in on, but it's so hard to see it zoom in. I'm sorry, but my viewer, one of the viewers, he had asked if I could zoom in, but it is just brutal. It is just brutal to produce software like this, but I will. I'll do it. Okay, so we need to create the user. We have that built. We have the post built. post task. Okay, and we do need to finish out our schema, of course, too. So get user task and show find many. Okay. You know, we'll just build them all in the controller fresh again. And a little extra practice never killed nobody. Let me just get rid of this. Boom. We can comment out connect DB. Don't need that, I don't believe. And let's just export this here. Don't need it. We will go to our task controller now. And this is where the damage needs to be done. So we have, instead of task, we'll have const task await prisma dot task dot find many. Where's the task? Okay, let's go to our model in Prisma. Just feel like it should be task, but I guess task.findMany makes sense. res.json.task. Okay, so we should be able to get task. If we go to our task again, we should just be back up in action. Boom. Let's go to our Kanban and see if it's working. Oh, task status.length. That would change something there. Where is this? Base column. Visual Studio Code. Don't want that. Don't know what it needed, but don't want it. Okay, base column. Sorry, I need to zoom out to kind of see what is going on. I feel like we should see task, right? Last status task.length. Is it going to be different in the task store is the question. So base column line 37. All task. I feel like that's what's happening is console.log all task. I feel like we're getting an array issue from, oh sweet, our console ninja is working again. I forgot. Okay, so why would we have task.task status? Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. That's right. Duh, we didn't build that there. So task status. We're gonna definitely ask our trusty old intern to build the schema in Prisma. Schema in Prisma. Boom. Here is what I have so far. That's right. Okay, because we need task status to exist. I just want to see how you do objects in Prisma, just specifically this part where we're constructing an object, which is going to be very, very, very important. Okay, so this is roughly what it's saying is similar deal. You make a task status. Let's see. You build a task status just like this. And then you push it in there. So task status, the relation task status on model, either run. Okay, so does it need to be above? Is that why? Yeah, I do like how Prisma should be like this. Or it looks like a table. So it's just boom, your data is right there. You can easily see it. I wonder if there's like a prettier thing for Prisma or configuration prettier that includes Prisma. So it just automatically does that. That would be pretty cool. But not the end of the world to edit. So name. Error validating. Each model must have at least task status. No, we don't want it to be a unique task status though. We don't want them to have their own IDs, right? Or I don't know, or do we, right? You know what I mean? Error validating field task status and model task. The relation field task status on model task is missing an opposite relation. Either run Prisma format or add it manually. Okay, let's try to, let's see, npx Prisma format. Okay, well that was easy. Oh, it needed to relate to the task. Okay, that makes sense. And then let's say npx Prisma generate and npm run start. Okay, so that should not that it's going to fix the issue. We don't have task to see, but now we can push task with task statuses. I think the other thing I learned at the next ATX night was there's a guy who's using this like kind of how we're using Lucidchart, wherever that thing is. He had this, but it was like in the, I think it was in the VS Code where he could like organize how his data is structured, or I think it might have automatically updated how his data was all relating to each other in like a visual way. So I think I'm going to look into that to see how that is, because I personally I learn the most like being a very visual person when I see something. When I like first learned about client server architecture and I just heard about it, I didn't like erase the visual. I was like, what is client server architecture? And someone's trying to explain the DOM and the front end and how you're delivering content delivery networks and how the server needs to go to the database, and it sounded so confusing. But when I learned, oh, this is like roughly how it works, where we have our data, we have a place that serves the data, like deals with this stuff, you know, and then we have our front end. Like that made sense to me when I could see it. So I'm a very visual person. That helps a ton. That helps me a ton for learning. So let's get back to our controller. Prisma.findMany. Okay, so that handles this task. Get task data. We can inevitably get rid of this. We don't really need get task anymore. Get task index. Is there going to be a time when we ever need to find one specific task? I don't know. We really don't need it out of here anyways, because the task model doesn't even exist. So if we end up needing it, I'll rebuild it. Not the end of the world. Let's just get task ID. Don't want it in our route anymore. That'll just cause errors. And maybe it is causing an error even here. Boom. Don't need it. Okay. I'm sure we'll need it in a second, but we'll have to rebuild it anyways because it's going to be different with Prisma, where we're going to have to say find many according to like where ID or task ID equals something, but not overly concerned, to be honest. Okay, so let's just clean up the file and migrate us over to Prisma. So Prisma, instead of new task, what did we do? It's Prisma dot task dot create, and not this. We need to wrap this all in data here. Task status, of course, that's going to be the one because it needs an ID or something. Task status is not assignable to this. We'll have to figure that out. Schema. That is how we need it though, is for it to be a status. I just wonder if this also needs to be something like this, where what about this, right? Huh. Okay. Let's see, await new task, save. Just throw this in trusty old chat. How to make this work now with Prisma. So task status object. Do I just need to pass in this whole object now? Instead of making it a, I feel like that seems arbitrary, right? But we would have the name, the timestamp. Oh, but why do we need to pass in the task into this? That's why I didn't want all this extra stuff on it. I just wanted it as a type. Ay. Let's see, and this is what ChatGPT says, which I think will still have the same error. Which we do. Time is not assignable to task. Status unchecked created nested without task input. The expected type property task status, which is declared here on type. Task status name input. Not sure, folks. Not sure. Because I think these task statuses are going to need like their own collection, but I really want them to be associated to tasks. But I guess that makes sense if MongoDB, it's not storing a JSON object, it's storing documents associated to other documents, right? So I guess it would make sense that this does need to have its own ID, its own name, its own timestamp, and a task it's associated to. So I need a task ID associated to this. I think we can just maybe say task ID. Task ID, right? Will that fix our error? It's not assignable to this. Okay, so it's not a number. If we just put it in there as a string, right? I feel like I'm gonna have to find the task and then, okay, maybe this is gonna be a little bit more mentally demanding than originally perceived. So we'll skip to the easy one, which is gonna be to delete a task, I'm sure. So Prisma task dot delete, and probably I imagine it's gonna say where ID equals this, right? Task ID equals task ID. Okay, we're gonna have ChatGPT make sure we can clean this code up according to Prisma. Maybe I can read a little bit about the docs of Prisma. Delete MongoDB, right? But the cool thing is we're getting in the nitty gritty. We're getting the hands a little bit dirty, right? Of learning how to do this. Insert task ID. Okay. So it's saying we no longer need to check the delete count. We can just do that. And of course, this is still breaking us a little bit here. I wonder if I don't need to make this a array. It's an array in your schema. So it just needed to be a task status object, right? Oh, okay. I guess in my brain, I don't understand what's happening. So I need to understand that how this relationship is happening, because I think I'm gonna have to query for a task status, and task statuses belong to task, so they're now separated in two different documents. But I don't understand how the task status can exist without a task being posted. You know, so I don't know. We'll try this, but it just seems like a weird thing to do, to go to Prisma and say task.status, like find many, where ID, but what would the ID be? It doesn't exist yet, you know? I guess maybe we can try the task ID here. Maybe this is the answer we were looking for. So task status where ID, type of number is not assignable. We'll just put in a random ID right here to just calm that error. That's going to be a tricky one, because it's probably something simple. Again, for a backend engineer, they're probably looking at this like, dude, all you need to do is just fetch for this and then query this, and you're good to go. But in my brain, that's not making a lot of sense. If I'm trying to post a new task where a task status doesn't even exist yet, why would we do that? And maybe there's an opportunity. The reason why I wanted to do this is because we could always track we can have a history of where the task has been and what it's currently at. But maybe if we get rid of that history, we can do that. So that would just reshape our data a little bit, which would ruin kind of the timeline component. It wouldn't exist anymore. So in other words, if I just made task status a string and then just had a timestamp of like when task was created or something, then that's not a problem at all. But the reason why we did this was so we can ultimately build a timeline component down the road where we can track the task associated to the status that it's been through. So you can kind of like from an admin or from a project manager view, like see who's doing what task at what time and when you're hitting milestones, and put it on like a calendar or some sort of line chart or something. So that's why I did it, was to do something like that, right? But we're gonna have to rethink that, I think, a little bit. But the good news is we are implementing and integrating. Let's see. I don't think we need to assign that to anything. I think that'll just do that. The good news is, though, we are integrating with Prisma and wrapping our MongoDB and getting all these relationships figured out now. Because if we can figure them out, as I roughly said earlier, we should. If we can figure this out, we should be able to figure out all the other pieces to the puzzle. I did say easily earlier, but I'm gonna re-preface that and say we should be able to figure it out. Which I still think we can. It's just going to be a tiny thing here, of just order of logic of how this is going to work. So maybe I need to generate a task status first, and then associate that to a task. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how this is gonna work. Like maybe I need to post a task status altogether, and then every time we post a task, We'll have to run this function first, potentially. Oh wait, Prisma, task status, right? Create, say data, and that's our task status. It's always going to start as to do, or not always, but some of the time, right? Timestamp date.now. Okay. And what is our error? What is our error here? Number is not assignable to type string. Okay. As date. Now, say to string. Seem to have calmed our anxieties here, and let's see if we run this endpoint. We actually don't have any way to run it currently. It's not in our router. So let's go ahead and add it. Console log task.status. User routes, nope, task routes. That's what we want. And let's say post. It'll be tasks. Let's say task status. Task controller dot post task status. Let's see if that works. I need to crash the server. We're getting errors already. And of course, because we're posting something that is breaking it. But of course, our data object is not going to work. Okay, so maybe the workaround is to say build an endpoint. Build an endpoint with this. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Build an endpoint using this Prisma. Build a post endpoint. Here we go. This Prisma schema. Guys, a bit of a lower tone episode, a bit of a boring one to some degree. But on the other side, super, super exciting with Prisma. Very, 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 very exciting. Obviously there's some configuration, some struggling, some new tech being used here. And that is, folks, why I do love the software, right? Because we're challenging ourselves. We're moving forward, trying to figure out the next step in this whole project. And it's somewhat working. It's somewhat coming together. So task status, let's see. It's still not doing this. Task status is undefined. Okay, well, let's say task status doesn't have to exist. Is there a way to do that? Task status, what does this do? This is going to take some wrestling, folks. Some wrestling and wrestling. Okay, but I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll debug it and figure it out. I'm just really, really, really pumped to share that we're starting to integrate Prisma. And it's obviously a challenge at this point, but it's going to be a good challenge that pays off in the long run because it's basically something that wraps around our database that handles a lot of these harder things for us, or at least should be handling these harder things for us. Because the very issue that I was describing, right, was this idea that we have to have documents like this, and then we build new documents with the two combined documents. And if that's ultimately what we have to do, then that does kind of ruin this idea of just saying, hey, just draw a line over here. But I am going to do more research and figure out where the knowledge gap in my abilities is right now, associated to this data structure. So, but I will figure it out, and I'm really excited to see that this is getting configured, that we have tasks that can be associated to users, so on and so forth. I guess to the same point of what we just did with task and users, should we not just do that with task statuses? Is Is that not what it should be? User relation, task relation. Is this, I guess, the same thing? But it still doesn't make sense in my brain. Why would we ever make a task without a task status? So let me dig around and kind of think on it. But guys, thank you so much. Welcome to the 4 or 5 a.m. club. And yeah, on to the next guys. Cheers.